Hello, GenY rock stars. This is Devesh Dwivedi from EntrepreneurInMaking.com, and today's video, I bring you Scott Gerber, the author of upcoming book NeverGetARealJob.com. NeverGetARealJob. The NeverGetARealJob.com is his website. Definitely check him out. Grab your copy on December 7th. That's when the book gets out. Scott is one of the most coveted columnist, I would say, internationally syndicated columnist on so many major media channels like Entrepreneur, Inc., and Wall Street Journal, and whatnot, so many other media channels. It's our pleasure to have him here today. We are going to talk to him about GenY, Gen Juice, and whatnot. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, Scott, why don't we start with telling us a little bit about you, your story, and then we'll move on to the Gen Juice, GenY stuff.
Sure. Well, basically, I myself am just like you guys. I'm a GenY entrepreneur. I currently have multiple businesses, but as I say, those businesses were created based on the world of hard knocks and tough breaks. My story basically begins with the fact that when I was 18, I was told that I was supposed to go work hard, get good grades, go to school, and get a real job because my mother, who I love dearly, while she is an amazing mother, she's a terrible business advisor, and basically she came from the perspective of a 30-year in the system teacher in the New York City Board of Education, and I just simply couldn't do it. And we would have fights about everything from unions to just all this stuff about what a real job meant. And so I found a way to basically be my own boss without investment money and without a traditional business education. I actually went to film school, if you could believe that, and really just found a way to learn the tricks of the trade, become a very practical nuts and bolts kind of entrepreneur that today is fortunate to be able to speak to all these folks as an advocate for the generation to become entrepreneurs, as well as from an authority that kind of is in the trenches as well. So it's really been a wonderful ride, and now it all kind of hopefully doesn't conclude, but the next milestone is obviously this movement, this book with Never Get a Real Job, and really putting it out there to help a whole new generation of folks become entrepreneurial in the face of unbelievably hard times when it comes to unemployment and underemployment.
Yeah, that's very true. And Scott, this video, of course, is seen by all the GenYers across and the audience of Gen Juice, which is the online and offline destination for GenYers. So the discussion is going to be more, I would say, themed around GenY. Do you think your age, you being too young, ever came in your way to success? Or because you work with GenYs every day, you talk to college kids all the time. Tell us of any incident or stories, client perhaps, like something along.
Sure. I love the fact that my office cat is chilling on the couch behind me here. So actually, there's an article on Entrepreneur I just wrote about this very, very topic, where basically I talk about a scene from The Social Network. If you remember the scene correctly, it was basically that we had, the lawyer, if you remember correctly, is doing a deposition against Mark's character, and Mark is not paying attention, and basically this older Gen X plus kind of boomer plus guy is basically saying in a very condescending tone, well, don't I deserve your attention? And obviously Mark gives a very impassioned reason as to why he doesn't. And I basically discussed the fact that there's really no reason to have respect given unless respect is earned. I don't care about personally, if somebody is 100 years my elder or not. I worked very, very hard for the person I am, and once somebody is an ageist, that to me doesn't hold any water. What I found with young entrepreneurs is we try to work we try to work and find ways to use age to an advantage. And most times we're successful at it. I always say that, yes, you want to have gray hair in a room in a big business meeting, but it's almost like a puppet show. You control the strings because it's your gray hair. Yeah. So there's no reason not to have, folks on your side and more established people associated with you. But at the end of the day, it's all a big trick. I found in my entire successful career, had I been older, it might have been harder to navigate. The fact that I was younger, I was able to ask mentors for more advice. I was able to get more people in my corner to really believe in this, young guy who got it. And I always inspire young people to be realistic when you talk to, other folks. Also make sure you don't get stepped on, but be proactive. Use your age to your advantage and not to a disadvantage, because we have unbelievable amounts of energy and we have unbelievable amounts of, real just make it happen regardless kind of enthusiasm. And I think that if we can put those things forward, it really does come through.
And you just mentioned that the age itself, being younger, has so much more advantage because of the energy, because of the youth, because of the fact that you can ask for more help, mentors and whatnot. But has the age helped you the otherwise in any other sense? Or because I'm trying to just get around this age thing because Gen Y and Gen X have this whole age difference, the generational gap, as a very major particular issue between them. Most of the things actually do get blamed on this too. Oh, you won't get it because you are too young, or right, you won't get it because you're too old. You know what I mean?
Well, I get to speak on this topic for hours. I mean, it depends on the world you live in. I mean, personally, I'm so anti-real job. In a real job world, though, ageism is the way the world works, right? Like, you need 10 plus years of experience to apply to this job you probably won't get anyway. Like, that's the way the world actually works. So in the entrepreneurial world, it's based on track record. It's based on proven success. It's based on your managerial skills, your overall business and strategy. The rules don't apply because I'll tell you what, if somebody like a Kevin Rose, a Mark Zuckerberg, Omar and Nick from College Hunks Hauling Junk, or any of these other amazing companies walk into a room and say, hey, here's my $300 to $300 million company. I built it from the ground up. What do you have to say about that? And somebody gives them lip about it. Well, that person doesn't know who they're talking to. So I think that in the entrepreneurial world, the reason age can be an advantage and how it helped me is because I was able to get into more doors. Like I said, being able to knock down doors as a young person just basically means I'm going to hustle my way in. Like, the second you give me any time of day, consider that a meeting. Consider that you're going to, at some point, have to deal with me because I'm relentless and I will use my age and my undying youth, so to speak, and energy to make stuff happen. And that's where I think age really does play into a factor in our world, and it could be such an awful disadvantage. I mean, I know so many, Gen Xers and Boomers that shouldn't be in positions they're in anymore but yet they control so much power and authority because they want to keep the rules a certain way so that they benefit. Yet the younger generations could run circles around these people. Yeah. But yet they're not given the chance because the rules say that if you don't have 5 years of experience in corporate America or if you don't have X number of years in life, you can't participate. Well, I think that's really stupid.
Yeah. And how do you feel about the Gen X, having all these criticisms around being a Gen Y-er? Why do you think Gen X has all these stereotypes? Like, they think we are lazy or spoon-fed, Facebook generation, unproductive, unrealistic expectations. What's not? I mean, you have heard of them all, all the stereotypes. What are your thoughts?
They're all true. I mean, a big part of my new book is it's kind of broken down into 3 parts, right? It's the first portion of it is talking about the deconstruction. Then there's the foundation. Then there's the rebuild, right? So in the deconstruction, I talk about why we're so messed up. And it's not just, blame daddy because he coddled me. No, it's you bought it hook, line, and sinker. You thought you were special. You thought you were entitled. And now you use that mindset as something that you think is a strategic advantage when it's actually a disadvantage. You assume that because somebody told you are great that you are. You assume that you are special and that people care about you because that's what your mom and dad said. And you took that and you ran with it. And even though it's not true, you still work within a construct that you believe it is. So until you kill that ego, until you back yourself off, until you stop spending like you have an unlimited money tree and all these other bad habits that you picked up over the years, then yes, we deserve the entitlement generation, the Facebook effect, the Ritalin culture, the Adderall addicts, all this nonsense that we're called. With that being said, I think it's safe to say, though, that if we can get our stuff together, we can run circles around these older generations. We can move businesses forward faster. We can make partnerships quicker. And we have really the ability to lower our overall, overhead and everything else to such a low level that it makes it very hard to compete with us when we're rational, realistic, and grounded. Yeah. So I think that my best advice is, yes, Gen Y, congratulations. I just told you you're messed up. Your poop does stink. Your parents do love you, but they don't control the way the world thinks about you. And no, nobody cares about you. Unless you make them care, unless you make your poop stink, and unless you prove that you're worth the time of day. And that would be my advice there.
Awesome, Scott. I love it. I totally love it. And I'm very sure that all the audience of Gen Juice and my audience as well will definitely enjoy it. And it's very solid tips right there. Now, just to conclude the interview, and I know that you already mentioned quite a few very good tips, what should be done, what should not be done. What would be your top 5 tips or some parting advice to Gen Y aspiring entrepreneurs, these GenYers who want to be an entrepreneur, just don't know what to do, how to do, where to get started, how to get started, and whatnot. What are those?
Sure. Well, the first thing I will say is build a real business. I always say that there's a real difference between money pit and money maker. And the problem is that money pits are 9 out of 10 businesses that GenYers come up with. Because again, we're delusioned by this Facebook model of, build it and they will come, or build it and there will be advertising, or any of this stuff. And yes, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there in the comments and everything else that are going to say, well, Scott, Facebook and Dig and Mashable and all these other amazing sites. But the reality is my mission is to help people with real deal practical advice that anyone can go and be an entrepreneur, not the one in a billions. So I will say that while there are exceptions to the rule, businesses should be simple. They should be unoriginal. They should build off of real business models that take in real revenue. The best businesses for our generation, I still do believe, as much as we are a tech-savvy culture, as much as I do believe the internet changes worlds, I believe that in order to get incomes, to gain employment by oneself, you need to create an income for yourself and thereby create things like business-to-business services. Companies that have real revenues. And yes, later on in life, when you have cash flow, when you're successful at these first businesses, tackle bigger business models, take bigger risks, fine. But don't take risks now when your time is on the line and you need to support yourself. Yeah. And the last thing I will say is this, and this is something I didn't say in a different interview that I did with you, but I think it's very, very valid. And I will say this, be afraid. Be afraid not to have, failed, because be afraid, your failure is good. Be afraid to be somebody who, wakes up in 15, 10, 100 years from now, looks back on his life and sees nothing but unimportance, dead-end jobs, and nothing that you've done of real tangible value. Be afraid to basically see yourself as the self you never wanted. But what you shouldn't be afraid of, what you should never, ever be afraid of, is to never get a real job.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you so much. Really loved chatting with you. I'm very sure the audience would enjoy this video. And ladies and gentlemen, this was Scott Gerber once again. Very passionate, very interesting entrepreneur, GenYer, of course. And his book comes out December 7th, Never Get a Real Job. The website that you can grab the book on, of course, Amazon or nevergetarealjob.com. December 7th, keep that on your calendar and grab a copy. Thank you so much, Scott.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Bye.